eventually you must move on from the past and embrace the future. Welcome to the first series on the Mon Ultimate here at oNiD, and welcome to the SimHound World Championship. 8 rounds of multi-class racing coming up, featuring the hypercars and GT3s. We're here at the wonderful Temple of Speed, Monza, and joining me for the next 8 weeks, Sam Grande. How are you doing, Sam?
Yeah, very well. Very excited. LMU, obviously it's new, it's shiny, it's exciting, but it's something different, as you say. Moving on from ACC and moving on in the big way. We're obviously not just a new game, but a new layout, a new circuit, Stevie, which will... Sorry. Oh my goodness, it's happened already. Stevie, I mean, Scotty, we're moving on in the big way to a new layout as well, which is going to be very interesting to watch tonight.
Yeah, I'm very excited for tonight, Aidan. It should be hopefully a good race, hopefully not too much chaos, but hopefully we won't be continuing on like this. We're just at the end of practice, about to go into qualifying. As we're getting into our first series, let's talk a little bit about the format. We're getting into a 15-minute qualifying session, private session for all our drivers. They will have the track entirely to themselves, which I'm sure they'll be happy about. No other class to worry about for them. As we see Mustang of James Cowley heading down pit lane. I love the LMU, just gives you that sort of 25 seconds to leave the pit, get down to the end of pit lane before the light goes green, rather than having to rush out the second the session goes green.
Yeah, definitely, that's a nice little addition. And it's one of those things you don't think of that would be nice, and then someone, you see it and go, actually, that's actually quite a nice little idea. And I'm sure there are many other nice little ideas like that that we'll get to experience throughout this series. And already I'm thrown off. I know there's not a chicane there, but for a moment, it was really weird.
Yes, we are running the no chicane layout that was added in the last update only a couple of weeks ago to the Mon Ultimate, giving us a long run from the start-finish line down towards was normally the second chicane, is now the first. So could be very chaotic. Some of the GT3 cars, from what we've heard, can't quite hold it flat through Curva Grande without the first chicane. So I'm ready for a lot of chaos through Curva Grande when we get into the race.
Yeah, definitely will be very interesting. A lot of people have talked about obviously moving the first chicane instance just to the next chicane, which I don't know if we'll see. I think you've got Curva Grande, which will separate things and maybe, as you say, add maybe some more instance in with some of the GT3s amongst the hypercars having to lift and maybe being surprised by that, being caught out. This will potentially be the first time a lot of these drivers will be racing at this circuit in a pack, racing together. A lot of newcomers to LMU, and even if they have practiced, likely they've practiced on their own going around here. So we'll see who was caught out tonight by Curva Grande, or the second, which will be the first chicane for tonight, and who's able to adapt and adjust as quick as they can.
Indeed. The drivers will be starting their first flying laps here. Another thing we should mention, will only really feature here in qualifying. We've seen a lot of weaving on the warm-up lap, is cold tires. I mean, if you're used to ACC, you'll be like, cold tires, what? They're not much of a concern. LMU takes this much more realistically. Cold tires are more equivalent to ice, some would say. Very important to get your tires up to temperature. Very easy to make a mistake on your outlap while you're on those cold tires.
Yeah, definitely. And this is another thing that everyone will have to get used to, especially at the start of the race. Qualifying, you've got that time, you can take those extra laps and get the tyre temps and pressures where they need to be. But come race start, you've got to be on it. You can't be taking too many risks with very low grip, low tyres. Track temperature tonight, by the way, speaking of temperatures, track temp 41 degrees, Scotty, incredibly hot. Ambient temps about 18 C, so very interesting conditions for them.
Yeah, a lot of straight here, so that should help the drivers not have to worry too much about overheating tires when they get into a stint, but might prove a little interesting when it comes to the hypercars and they're deciding which tire compound they want to go on. Of course, the GT3s only have the medium compound. The hypercars, I believe, have the medium and the hard tires here, so a little bit of choice. And we should also mention, they can mix and match compounds. So of course, a lot of right-handers here at Le Mans. So they might decide they need hard tires on the left side, mediums on the right. That's something you can do here on LMU.
Yeah, I think, I'm hearing just so many different comments about that at the pit stops. It opens a door for so many interesting strategies, with the different tires and having the ability to change any amount of tires to any compounds. And similarly, that strategy of with the virtual attribute, which is obviously unique to this kind of format of pit stops. And sure, we've got the hybrid systems, and we've got different efficiencies when it comes to fuel, but then that virtual energy comes as a balance of performance and adds another aspect to the strategy of how much are you going to lift and coast and trying to avoid pitting. I do believe tonight there is a mandatory stop in the sense that they can't go the full length of the race without running out of virtual energy, but there isn't any kind of mandatory stop in terms of us enforcing one, I believe.
It's not something we can enforce on LMU, a mandatory pit stop. But yes, as you say, we haven't talked much about the race, so let's just cover that off. 60-minute races coming up this season, well, except for the final round at Le Mans, which will be a 90-minute race. The strategy for 60-minute races is, I would say, one of the more boring ones in all my opinion. You start the race, full tank of energy. You go to about 45 minutes when you run out of energy, and then you pit for about 30% to get you to the end. No tire change, you don't have the time to make use of new tires. But hopefully, we still have a full field of 36 drivers, 18 cars in both hypercars and GT3s. I don't think we might not need the strategy to have some very interesting and chaotic races.
No, definitely not. And qualifying is also underway. One thing I don't have, unfortunately, is kind of improvements, if you like. So we can't quite see who's maybe putting on a major lap until they've crossed the line, unfortunately. But definitely some nice looking cars to look at least Scotty's as we watch currently Ben Shawley lap around, currently in 9th in that interesting looking BMW, rounding. I was going to say Curva Grande, but I'm not so sure from these camera angles. Angel currently in pole for the hypercars, and obviously overall as well with a 126.7. 4/10 off that is Dan Tomlinson in the Cadillac. Dave Wood not too far behind either in that Ferrari, sitting in 3rd.
3 manufacturers in the top 3 for hypercars as Morgan gets them up into 5th place with the BMW. As we see them coming on to another lap here into Curva Grande. Cars sparking away on the ground. I love the effect that the cars give when they bottom out into the first chicane now. 6,000s up in the first sector as they look to go for pole. Of course, first sector only has Curva Grande, so it is easy flat out in these hypercars through the Lesmos into Lesmo 2. Now got a bit of a swapper on, maybe lock the brakes coming into Lesmo 2. That's going to run their momentum all the way down to Curva Grande. Sector point should be here as they head into the left-hander. We wait for it to pop up. There it is, down 9/10, so you can see effect of that little mistake through Lesmo 2, and they'll be looking towards their next lap now as they've fallen down to 7th. Still Angel at the top. Through the final corner for Charlie Morgan. You can see they're running out wide, trying to set the lap up, and then down to start finish line. They'll start another flying lap, only about halfway through the session now.
Indeed, and obviously, with the removal of that first chicane, that's one, more opportunity, or one less opportunity, if you like, to correct a mistake coming out of the final corner, coming out of Parabolica. You make an error in Parabolica, you're going to have a bad time going down the straight. But at least with the first chicane previously there, that would have stopped any losses you had at turn 1. You can restart again coming out of that chicane. But now you're carrying those potential losses all the way through, obviously, to what was previously the second chicane. I think Della Roggia is the name, I think. So it's just one other aspect tonight at a high-speed circuit, usually incredibly high-speed circuit tonight, obviously being in a hypercar as well. even more so as you say Charlie Morgan resets for another lap. Sun Angel somehow holding on 26.7 as well. We've got currently, let's look at the GT3s as they are also interesting to look at. Matt Webb leading the way in that class in the McLaren, familiar looking McLaren. The Ford Mustang of Cowley also in second, and Harris in third as well. Harris, Paul O'Grady here in fourth as well. Just coming out the pits on a fresh set of boots, 6.5 minutes to go. Plenty of time as well to get some more laps in. Maybe just getting a feel for it. Not seeing many movers, many improvements. So maybe people have kind of got what they can at the moment. The track's not evolving obviously so much. I think it's more down to confidence and getting an understanding of the feel for the car, Scotty.
Yeah, I do think there's also, as we mentioned, the cold tires tend to lead that you can run a longer stint in qualifying and find improvements throughout. But with the high track temperatures here, maybe the tires are just starting to overheat, especially in those left-hand sides. And yeah, we've seen a number of drivers, I would say about half of our field, have come into the pits to put on fresh tires. We're still waiting on a couple of hypercars to set valid laps. Should be said, if they don't set a valid lap in qualifying, they will start behind the entire GT3 field, which could be quite devastating. One of those drivers is Lasse Vianoda, coming into the first chicane on an out lap here. So obviously has messed up, invalidated all of their laps on the first run. So we'll now have to rely on this second run. Still just over 5 minutes to get a lap in, and the lap times aren't too long here. As you mentioned, 1:26.7, their current provisional pole time in the hypercars class. That means the shortest lap allows you to get quite a few laps in.
Yeah, definitely, indeed. I mean, you think for for Lassie here, it's worth it with 5 minutes to go. Just getting any time on the board, and as you say, that'll put them ahead of the GT3s at the start at least. That's something. And from then, obviously, then work out an improvement. Trying to see what else we've got potentially. I think we've got all the GT3 cars, but Johnny actually yet to set a time here. Tonight, obviously down in P35. Overall, as a 10 P18 in class is actually in that Mustang, which sounds pretty good, I must say.
Yeah, lovely sound from the Mustang as it roars its way into the Ascari chicane. Currently 8/10 off the current provisional pole time over the curb on the exit. I had a clean run there through Ascari. So just one more corner now with the parabolic good to go. Currently 8/10 off would put Johnny P3 if he can hold on to it. How much time will Johnny lose in the final corner? The field is pretty compact once you get behind the first few cars. So up to the line now. Where will Johnny put himself? Up to P10. Currently 1.4 seconds off the provisional pole time.
Indeed.
And actually, I just noticed Johnny has matched Ben Brown's time to the 1,000th. So incredibly close. We also have, as you can see on your screen, or was on screen earlier, Paul O'Grady and Simon Harris, literally 1,000th of a second separating them. Incredibly close at the moment in GT3.
Indeed it is, yeah, definitely. That's the Ramsday, another here, 100th away from his rival there, Davies, up into third. Incredibly close stuff, and that must give you a little boost surely to go around and just get another lap in that just pips the other guy. But I'm sure the other guys also, I think the same thing as Asram said, he sets a purple sector 3 in class there, improving nearly 2/10 better than the previous sector there, so he really has got some pace in him, at least in that final sector. Does Ramsey just has to get the first two sectors a bit more in shape, it seems. But either way, doing a great job anyway in third in class as it stands. Cowley, yeah, so close to Webb, unbelievable. Both those drivers currently on track as well, so maybe he has gone yellow in the first sector, but 2.5 minutes to go, plenty of time. There's always plenty of time until there's a checkered flag, Scotty.
there's always the next lap, which you can get clean. A little wide for James Carley out of Lesmo 1. That might have been a lap invalidation. The penultimate, we stick to the white lines here primarily. Though I haven't done a lot of Monza myself, I should say, to know if there's a bit of leniency at the Lesmos that the drivers might be able to take advantage of. But yeah, this lap for James Carley not really coming together to yellow sectors. But while we've been talking about GT3s, we've had change at the front of Hypercar. Ben Shawley has gone to provisional pole by just 0.02 of a second. So again, incredibly close again. Angel has actually gone back to the pits and is on another outlap here. They'll only get one more flying lap this session. I'll be interested to see if they can get the tyres warm enough to have a proper go at it. But Ben Shawley, as you can see, has backed off in the middle sector, probably just made a little mistake and wanted to let the tyres cool, not overheat them, for one final push attempt across the line. I can see 138.8, 12 seconds off the pace, but we'll go again one more time.
Indeed, as you say, Sun Angel here actually returning to the pits there, so deciding they can't quite get the tyres up to temp, despite the gap being so close, that close, 2,000ths. They just don't have the time to get the temperature into the tyres, perhaps, and set a lap that would improve themselves. Dave Wood is on track currently in third, not too far away from Angel and Shawley, and obviously not too far away from Tomlinson either, so having potentially to defend. I say that his current lap obviously isn't an improvement, and I don't think he's got enough time.
I think he'll just about get to the line. He only has Parabolica to go into the long right-hander. Car looks stable, but is it quick? Probably, as you mentioned, won't be improvement. Already 5.5 tenths down after the middle sector. Will go to start another lap, and I think that lap time was even invalidated. So one final attempt for Dave Wood. And just want to point out with Angel there coming into the pits, practicing the pit entry. Again, we mentioned no mandatory pit stop, but all the cars will need to stop for fuel to make it to the end of the race. So vital second or two to be won and lost, getting your braking right for the pit entry. Someone who is on a flying lap is Elvin Blomqvist, currently at bottom of the timesheets, hasn't got a lap in yet in the hypercar, and is on a vital lap here, currently about 7 tenths down on the pole lap as they come into the Parabolica. I should also mention this is their first flying lap of the session, so something has held them up a bit and maybe slightly compromised them, but up to the line. Where will they put themselves? It's good enough for P6, 1.1 seconds off the top time.
Indeed, great job there. Obviously, very crucial to get a lap in, and at least they did. And up to 6, fantastic job there. Obviously, you mentioned Son practicing their pit entry as Dave Wood pulls over. Something else they have to take into account for is there is collision in the pit lane. So sure, they can practice their pit entry, bang on as if they were hot lapping a normal lap. But maybe they'll get to it in the race and suddenly there's a car in front of them. So it is good to know exactly where that limit is and how much leeway they've got when they're obviously braking to slow down enough to not only get into the pit lane under the speed limit, but without coming to contact with the car that might potentially be there. And Stevie, I think, just puts in some drifting moves perhaps on his lap there. Daniel Lindblom potentially on a lap, indeed on an improvement as well, or at least he was through sector 1, and then obviously yellow through the next sector, 9 tenths down it seemed as he hops along through the exit of Ascari there in that Cadillac. Cadillac, I think, with an extra challenge, if I remember correctly. If they run out of battery tonight, they won't be able to start again come pit stop time. They do need to have some battery left in that car ready for the start, really, after their pit stop. And they haven't managed that right. They'll be dead in the water, so to speak.
Yeah, it comes into the pits. Another one practicing pit entry, of course. We do have a little bit of ABS assist for those hypercar drivers that want it. Personally, I'm one to completely avoid it. I like the authenticity, but it is there for our hypercar field should they so wish. But yeah, qualifying coming to an end. Now, I don't know if anyone is on any improvements. But looks like Daniel Lindblom, maybe Mr. grid box, but we can go through the full grid now with Ben Shawley starting on pole, had 3.5 tenths ahead of Son Angel, Dave Wood and Dan Tomlinson on the second row, ahead of Tyler Hammer, Elvin Blomqvist getting that one final lap in at the end of the session to put them P6. Daniel Lindblom and Zach Silver in 2 Cadillacs makes up a full yellow 4th row. Then we have Aidan Hard, a reserve driver for this round, filling a spot in ahead of Lasse Villanoda. Charlie Morgan, first car outside of the top 10, ahead of Nick Manders. And then on the 7th row, we have Jacob Hine and Stevie Bean. I'm surprised to see them two as far back. They were quick in some of our socials before this season. Joy Shore, another one of the reserve drivers, ahead of Button for Toy. Then Max Farrell and Dan Stevens round out our final row of the hypercars. Top 16 there were within 2 seconds. Then we got into the GT3s. Matt Webb taking GT3 pole position, ahead of James Cowley and Alistair Ramsey, making it 3 manufacturers in top 3 of the GT3 field. Then in 4th we had Matt Holman ahead of Ryan Davies and Simon Harris, making an all McLaren 3rd row for the GT3s. Paul O'Grady ahead of Leon Visperez. Then we have Johnny Ashley and Ben Brown in all oNiD admin 5th row now. Tom Watson and Ollie Knowlesen for our overall row 15. Trinket Detas, Frank Vivek in a all-Ferrari row 16. Dean Smith and Mark Bryson make up our penultimate row on the grid. Final row rounded out by Jared Page and Ben Mayat at the bottom. As we can see, all our cars are heading round now to the grid, as we've got our short formation lap before our rolling start that the drivers are rolling up on now.
Indeed. Sorry to put you on the spot like that. I clicked a button, didn't know what it did. Now we know. That's the starting order. Excellent stuff. Yeah, thank you.
And we are green here, as all the hypercar drivers are making their way, fanning down towards turn 1. They will have some heat in their tires. The game does give you them to simulate a formation lap, let's say, but it's flat out past what would be the first chicane. Peugeot, I think that was on the grass indeed, further back than the GT3s are coming to pass, but flat out through the Curva Grande now up to the 2nd chicane. Spot your braking point. It's much earlier than it normally is. Can our full field hypercars get through? Ferrari gets squeezed out by the Cadillac there for 3rd and 4th. That's Dave Wood jumping across the inside as we follow the leading cars through. The left slide for Tomlinson there in 4th. Looking a little further back at Tyler Hammer now holding on to P6. But hasn't got the best run out. He's coming under pressure from Daniel Lindblom as they head to the Ascari chicane. Is Lindblom close enough? Not quite. It's got to settle down as these cars try and get into an early rhythm in this race.
Indeed, we are seeing some yellow flags, but I can't quite tell what it is, unfortunately, but I think we can imagine further back, possibly some GT3s, maybe Lassie Bernola being involved, seeing as F so far back. Similarly, Berton for Toy here, also recovering, obviously down to P16 in class. P21 overall amongst those GT3 classes. We'll have to pick his way through that field safely as we see him do so now. Up front, we've stood with St. Angel leading the way. Pulled a bit of a gap away from Ben Shawley. I think the closest fight between the hypercars at the moment is actually Dan Thompson right on the back here of Elvin Blomqvist going into, I was about to say into the first chicane, obviously going around Curva Grande here, side by side almost. I thought there was going to be some contact there, sticking with it towards the next chicane.
Moving side by side in the braking for the chicane. The Ferrari just gets in front of the Cadillac behind though, getting a bit iffy on the brakes in the dirty air, locking up a bit. Has to take to the escape road that I believe was trying to find out that was Zipblom in the background going wide as they were trying to pass out Hammer, but wide there for the Ferrari, and that's Alvin Blomqvist dropping down the field. A mistake through the second. Esmond just parked on the outside. Luckily no one collects him. They're trying to get pointed the right way, but they're stuck facing the barrier now. They've had to get the car into reverse. Question is, can they get going before the first GT3 comes? Here they come. The first few are going to get past as they weave to give the Ferrari space to rejoin the circuit.
Indeed, and obviously unlike ACC as well, gravel means something in LMU, which is great to have. I love that extra surface, extra challenge, that good balance of authenticity and enjoyment, I suppose, as well. It's Liam Vespers on the back of the McLaren of Ryan Davies just ahead as they go through the Les modes now. They were briefly, I think, 0.3 apart. Gaining, I think, is Vespers coming out the second Les mode. Crucial, obviously, to get a good exit there as they run towards a great overtaking spot, being the Ascari complex.
They're heading down to Ascari now. Can the BMW get a good run? It's taking more curb. You can see it bouncing over the sausage curbs, but he switched to Dan Tomlinson, trying to, once again, to make a move on Tyler Hammer for P4. Wasn't quite close enough for a move in P4, but a little bit of gravel kicked up by the blue Cadillac, but Dan Tomlinson, not enough of a run. It can be a bit difficult to overtake here in the Lesmos. See, a little bit of gravel kicked up by Dave Wood in front, running slightly bit wide. We have another yellow flag out, but I'm not sure. Unfortunately, we're not told what the where the yellow flags are, so we will maybe try and find out if we can find out what happens. But for now, we do not know. Ben Knight in chat saying that the game threw them out of the server when they were sat on the grid. Absolutely gutted. That is a real shame to hear. Sorry for that. Sorry to hear that, Ben. Hopefully your fortune turns around for the next round. Indeed. Surely, apparently, on a different track. I do have a button here that will show us the tyres the drivers run. Let's have a quick look at that, because it is an option they do have, obviously. We can see there, it looks like the top running GT Hypers are on a medium set, I believe. Let me put on the... My timing screen is saying everyone is on mediums. So it doesn't look like we have any takers for hard. Maybe the tires aren't overheating that badly. Or there's also the alternative that they don't actually have hard tires, and I'm misremembering since I don't think I've done a hypercar race run here, to be honest. The Aiden Hard making a mistake through the second chicane, having to cut the second point. Might pick up some track limit points, which you've got to be careful of. If you pick up, I need to double check how many it is, but if you pick up enough to pass the threshold, you will get a drive-through penalty. Indeed you will, and it's a nice way of doing it, the system. It's one obviously apparently carried on as we see another yellow flag. I can't quite tell what it is, unfortunately, but if we see something, we'll definitely check out a replay. Just on the screen there, the energy available, and actually that is a car off. Tyler Hammer, let's quickly have a look, maybe what happens if this works the way I think it will. Excellent. This is Tyler Hammer obviously coming up towards the Ascari complex, just behind, obviously, incredibly close to that Cadillac there. I'm not entirely sure who that is. Car number 3. Oh, that's a leap and a half. Oh, and those tyres are going to be ruined, and a bit of rear end damage for good measure, Scotty. Wow. Yeah, and you're likely going to have to carry that rear end damage to the end as we come forward. Dan Tomlinson going side by side with Daniel Lindblom for what is now P4 after Tyler Hammer's mistake through the Ascari chicane. Dan on the outside, but locking up the brakes is Lindblom on the inside. They've slightly compromised their line, but Dan Tomlinson not able to find a way back past. A little bit confusing having two caddies, both named Dan and Daniel, fighting each other, but into the second Lesmo, Dan Tomlinson still right on the rear diffuser there as they're starting to come up on a little bit of GT3 traffic. Indeed they are, coming up to a great spot if he can get a nice run. Defending in front is Lindblom there from Tomlinson behind, letting up a little bit just to be able to get through safely, seeing where the curbs and apex are. Another yellow flag again, we can see that's a GT3. Good run here, because Lindblom was held up by Ferrari through the exit of Ascari. So in the slipstream, Dan Tomlinson should have the run. Will pull to the outside as Lindblom defends. He'll try and hang around the outside, but is he quite far enough alongside? Doesn't look like it. But if he can keep the momentum up, he can use the slipstream. I think he's fallen just a bit too far back.
Yes, but he lives to fight another day as they lap the first remnants of the GT3 traffic. Speaking of trying to lap GT3 traffic, we've still got Lassie Vinola down in P31 overall as I clicked the wrong button. Here we go, lapping the GT3 field. It's going to be a lot longer than I think he'd want it without the first chicane there, and he does have to fight through a lot of it. It's only a matter of time. There's an incident in front of him, I believe, judging by the smoke and the weaving that Vinola took there briefly.
That was tricky. The Tasse crashing at Curva Grande. We mentioned how some of the GT3s might not be flat out through the turn without the first chicane. Can see a replay here, just on a wide line on the marbles. The rear end steps out, and that's a big impact with the wall. They're getting going now, but they have heavy steering damage. You can see the car crawling. Luckily, they've not lost any wheels, as that would make it much more difficult to get back to the pits. But yeah, it's going to be a long time sat pit lane waiting for a power start. We cut to Charlie Morgan trying to go for a top 10 spot on Farrell in front of them. Farrell, a little bit of a lock up on the inside has put them a little bit deep. So if Charlie Morgan can get a good exit here, they might have a run in the slipstream towards Parabolica. They're closing up, but doesn't look like they're going quite close enough.
No, at least not this time, but definitely putting the pressure on the car ahead is Charlie here. Lots of time to go yet, lots of time to make mistakes and cut positions up the field, and just putting the pressure on the driver in front, maybe forcing them to maybe defend or compromise some of their tyre wear perhaps in order to do that. Maybe will pay off in the long run. But similarly, if you attack too hard, too early, you know, the tyres are going to be running out quicker than you'd want. Another yellow flag on the board there. Track temp is still 41 degrees, by the way, so it's costly to be too aggressive too early, as we can see there, the yellow flag, the hypercar of Lindblom, I want to say, if I can think of him.
It is Lindblom. Ban at the our first chicane for this race. Kinsey just locked the rear brakes coming up on a BMW. That's now parked in that awkward place. Just hope no one else messes up their braking and runs straight into your front end. But yeah, it's so easily done, just locking the rear brakes, especially when you're coming up on a car that's maybe going a bit slower than you expected. You're trying to get the car pulled up, but you're just, you know, you don't have any more grip, and you just go a little bit too hardly on the brakes. We cut to Lindblom was trying to defend from Zach Silver there, and Tyler Hammer also joining that battle to make it a three-way fight. But we look a little forward, Stephen Bain on the back of Aiden Hard, who's got themselves up to P7, having started P10, taking it advantage of those that have made mistakes so far this race. We can see the telemetry now for Stevie as they're in the slipstream, passing some GT3s. Can see the blue board flashing. The Porsche as well just in front of them. That is a lapped car, I believe. Yes, that is Lassie Vinola, who's already made a pit stop this race, came in at the end of the first lap after their little excursion before they'd even got to T1. But good run from Stevie, 3 second chicane. Aiden tries to cover off, bit bumper to bumper contact, and down the inside for Stevie into the first Lesmo. Aiden runs a little bit wide, trying to leave space for Stevie. Is still go to the outside, tries to carry the momentum. Is very brave. They're coming up on a Porsche. Will Stevie be generous? No, he just blocks Aiden in behind the fellow Porsche GT3, and that allows him to build a big gap on Aiden, who's now going to come under pressure from Max Farrell in the Proton Porsche behind.
Yeah, definitely, and at least the Porsches look good doing it. My favourite car, I have to say, in this category. They look incredible, they sound incredible, and they are holding up fun to drive. But here we go, Hayden Howard defending from Max Farrell. Lost one position to Stevie. Will he lose another? No, defends keeps that position for now as they go around Parabolica, and luckily able to build the buffer up from Max Quick from that attack, but has to get back into that rhythm to catch up to Stevie, get back into that slipstream, and potentially make a counter-attack and get that position back for him there. Leading the way still is Son Angel, although surely in second David still remains in third, but longer to go. And it is all about keeping your tyres in check as well. You don't want to lock up on one corner and that's it, your tyres are in a bad shape for the rest of the stint. I can see Tyler Hammer actually right, I'd say on the back, more like side by side, and now ahead of Daniel Lindblom as well. Daniel Lindblom again with the weaker tyres perhaps as they go towards the new first chicane, and that's job done for Tyler.
Oh, big bounce over the curb there for Lindblom. Luckily hasn't spun into the wall, but has certainly lost a little bit of time behind Tyler. Both of these drivers were close together, further towards the front of the field, where they each made their own mistakes. Tyler at Ascari, Lindblom into the first or second chicane, however you want to put it, with a little bit of a look at the virtual energy. Dan Tomlinson doing a good job of saving energy at the moment. Is still in the 60% range, whereas everyone else has sort of dropped down to, it's very, I'm surprised at how mixed it is across the field. We've got some people in low 50s and some people still in the low 60s.
Yeah, I mean, Angel there doesn't have the advantage of a slipstream perhaps. Maybe that's another thing that will mean he's slightly using a bit more energy, but you're right, yeah, definitely a bit of a mix there. Trying to see who has the most on that board. I think Lassie Manola down in P17 as it stands, along with Silver, P13. Good amounts energy stored up. As side by side go these two hypercars, just using that GT3 perhaps to their advantage. In fact, the GT3 almost defending it, looked like, from the hypercar there briefly.
I think it just wanted to turn into Curva. Grande mentioned they can't take, it's not an easy flat-out corner for them, so they want to take the racing line through there. And you can see they went to turn in, they were like, hang on, is that caddy going to go for the move? And both of the cars were just moving around as they weren't too sure what each other were going to do. We see Ryan Davies going for a move on BMW 4 P8 in the GT3 field. That's on Dean Smith, who's up in P9 in the class. But yeah, good moves there for Ryan Davies using the slipstream. Little deep, very deep into second chicane. Can the BMW take advantage? No, just sort of got caught up on the second apex behind the rear bumper of the McLaren.
45 minutes to go then. Ryan Davies just setting a purple sector 1 for his class there during that overtaking maneuver there on Dean Smith up into P8 in class, as you say. Matt Webb didn't see much of leading the way in the GT3 class there, just being lapped by the hypercars. We see a few of them going wide in the background there, as there's another yellow flag, by the way. Again, we don't know who that's for, unfortunately. We see also ahead just the hypercars desperate to stay in the slipstream of their rivals. It's such a long straight, and obviously going around Curva Grande, it's so important to get as much slipstream as you can and set something up for that first braking zone, that first overtaking opportunity on the circuit.
Yeah, indeed. I'm surprised you haven't seen a few more sketchy moments through Curva Grande. We've seen a couple of cars come close. We, of course, have had that one casualty so far. Trinket Detase, unfortunately, has DNF'd from this race. So our first actual DNF, unfortunately, I believe we had 2 DNSs from the start. It wasn't just Ben Myatt who disconnected, unfortunately. It was also Dan Stevens. Yeah, shame to lose a couple of drivers before the start. I think this is Trinket actually in the chat saying they DNF'd because their computer just blue screened again. Oh, that's really unfortunate to hear. Hopefully that'll just be a one-off and won't have any remaining issues for the rest of the series. Hopefully all the issues this week, no more for the rest of the series.
Yes, exactly. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed indeed. Ollie Knowles here, just chasing down Tom Watson just ahead in Aston Martin. A bit of gravel, a bit of dust flicked up as they go through Lesmo 2 now. Just picking up the slipstream as well from Dean Smith is Tom Watson just ahead, and Ollie Knowles has watched this unfold.
Looking to the outside as the BMW defence has a brilliant run. It has got their nose in front, but the BMW is coming back in the braking zone. The Aston tried to look for a cutback, wasn't able to get. The door was shut. The Porsche is trying to take advantage of this side by side on the exit of Scary. That's a little bit sketchy, but they managed to hold it there. Who's going to have the straight line speed? The Aston pulls in front. I wonder if the Porsche had to lift there for an illegal overtake. It can happen if you cut or go off the track and make an overtake while doing so. You will get an illegal overtake from the game and you'll have to give the place up. It can be quite frustrating at times, depending on the exact scenario, but it's just something that we have to deal with.
Indeed, at least you do have that pop-up to say if you've got a corner, you know, you need to lift a certain amount and avoid getting a penalty. At least you do have that option, or at least that visibility, I should say, over some other platforms. Ollie Knowles just in that slipstream, again, trying to catch up to that fight. He was just in the middle of, unfortunately has dropped back a little bit now as these hypercars are just lapping them left, right and centre. Not the place they'd want to do it, but you know, they're coming up with such amount of speeds. In a way, it's kind of unfair for the hypercar to just lift off completely and wait until Curva Grande is over. But at least they do have the option of going around the difficult way for them around the outside.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to get really brave as a hypercar, you'd make a move around the outside of the right-hander of Ascaria. Did that once. So you have to have a hypercar race around here. I'm losing my mind today a little bit, but we see Daniel Lindblom going to the inside of the Proton Porsche, getting the move done on Max Farrell for P9 on the recovery after their mistake at that very chicane not too long ago. And through the Lesmos now, I also have a couple of cars behind Max Farrell, Morgan and Hammer, another one of the cars recovering from a mistake, both looking to get a move done soon. Morgan in the slipstream doesn't look to be quite close enough, but is sort of looking, just trying to put the pressure on, see if they can get a good run light locked up before the Porsche into the Ascari chicane. Through the exit, a lot more carb usage from the BMW, just trying to carry the speed. Question is, can they get the move done? No, they're not going to be close enough this time by. Maybe the Porsche still getting a little bit of slipstream from the caddy in front.
Maybe indeed, and now is the time to use that slipstream as they obviously come out of Parabolica, get their foot down, look at all that traffic up ahead as well as they come past the start-finish line. 40 minutes to go, and almost onto the grass is the hypercar. Very, very brave there as they lap the Ferrari in front. Pulls to the inside there, does the BMW.
Luckily, no more GT3s to warm them up. Ooh, very closer on the apex. But the BMW has got moved done. Morgan up into the top 10 now. The Porsche maybe trying to come back, has a little bit of a lockup, boots them deep and could leave them vulnerable to Tyler Hammer in the background. We've got Aston Martin off through that chicane off into the gravel. That was Tom Watson losing a few positions, now sitting in 14th within the GT3 field.
Do you do another car on the second Lesmo? That's, I think, a Porsche.
That's Mark Bryson recovering, and they've lost their rear wing, so they must have made contact with the wall. We'll have to come in and get that fixed, because, yeah, not having a rear wing around here is going to be absolutely lethal through some of the high-speed corners.
Yep, definitely will be. We see him there struggling. Let's leave him to it and flick to another camera. Back to Charlie Morgan here, still on the back of Daniel Lindblom, apparently.
Yeah, has got their way past Farrell and is now trying to challenge Lindblom with the slipstream towards Curva Grande, though it looks like there's quite a bit of traffic in front. Yeah, there's a BMW, leaves the inside open for the hypercars. Just hold that tight line, which they'll have the grip to do so. Side by side in front, though, Stevie Bean and Aidan Hard are going at it once more for P7. And Charlie Morgan still looking for a move to get up to P9. Wide for Aidan Hard in front. Can see the gravel being kicked up. Stephen being looks inside, but Aidan Hard shutting the door and it's now created a 4-car train here. Aiden's going to be under a lot of pressure coming towards the sky. Stevie looking to the outside. The caddy thinking about maybe making it through out, but is deciding to try and follow Stevie through on the outside. Aiden back down the inside, and that's opened the door for the Cadillac to get past Stevie Bean. Up to P8 now for Daniel Lindblom, and if he has the momentum, he could go for P7 on the Friday, but he doesn't quite. In the background, Stevie Bean losing out to the BMW as well of Charlie Morgan down the inside of the McLaren. The BMW getting their braking wrong though. Morgan out wide relinquishes the position to Stevie once more, and a Porsche coming up to them as well. That's Max Farrell trying to come back. They'll be in the slipstream. Will they have enough momentum here? They'll be closing and closing. They pull out to the inside now for Curva Grande. Side by side. And the car's aggressively turning on the outside. Max taking a little bit of grass on the inside as the drivers trying not to come to blows together. Locking of the rears for the BMW. Big bounce over the curb, but they've managed to hold on to P10 now as Steve Bean has got an instant. Actually, Daniel Lindblom is spun round at the second. Lesmo off into the gravel, is making sure to rejoin a slide from the Cadillac as they came back onto the instant, but in hard wide through the first chicane onto the gravel. That compromised Daniel Lindblom, and Lindblom trying to go for a move on Stevie, locks the brakes and somehow phased through Stevie to find themselves off in the gravel.
Indeed, that'll change very quickly. Daniel Lindblom again recovering back up to where he was. Charlie Morgan back off a bit off the back of Stevie Bain, but just have a nice buffer now to Max Farrell. Those two are fighting ever so hard through the first sector. Maybe that instant through the first sector just settled things down a bit for this pack here. Alvin Blomqvist not far off the back either of Jacob Hine there for P11 either as they come through Parabolica. Again, so much slipstream. It seems to be this is the place to set it up for the first chicane, and maybe some drivers thinking tactically perhaps as they go through Parabolica that if they are just behind, they can use that slipstream against their rivals instead of having it used against them. A bit of DRS line detection, if you know what I mean, Scotty.
Yeah, do we see here Max Farrell coming under pressure, being passed by Jacob Hine in the Alpine, and Ferrari locking the rear brakes again, sliding into the second chicane, and all three of the cars here have come to blows. The Ferrari Blomqvist is going to try and take advantage and pass both of them. Farrell on the outside, backside of that one, try and go for a bit of a comeback, but is it close enough? Jacob Hine's got a second attempt here to get past Porsche, thinks better of it into the second. That's where the Porsche though still turning in a little bit early, trying to make sure that door was shut.
Indeed, but for how long as they run up to the Ascari complex? Jacob Hine obviously looking very, very racy in that hypercar tonight. Tipping that curb nicely, flick through the middle of the complex. Oh, hop over the middle section though. That's definitely not going to help their run at all, as we see another GT3 that he has to lap. And I think that's slightly diffused that battle, at least for now, as we see Daniel Lindblom pitting. I think unsurprisingly, but it's not too early, at least, where it doesn't hinder where it hinders his race too much. It is kind of in that pit window, if you like, where you can just top up that Vetch energy a bit more and then get going to the end now.
So Ben Knight confirming in the chat that the game disables collisions individually if a driver is having connection problems. So that seemingly at play in that instant earlier, unfortunately, but hopefully it means that there isn't too much damage for Lindblom as they make that pit stop. We can see here the changes of position since the start of the race. Can see Tyler Hammer down 10 places, probably having the worst race out of everyone so far today. Zach Silver and Blomqvist down a few positions too with their various mistakes, but great races so far for Nick Manders, up 7 places into 5th. Schroer up to 6th from P15, and Stevie Bean up 6 places as well as Max Farrell. So some people having great races so far, maybe from a slightly poor qualifying, others having their struggles, mainly with the brakes.
Indeed, as we see some more pitters throughout as we reach the kind of midpoint of the race. It kind of makes sense to do it about now in terms of tyre and everything else if they are choosing to change tyres. We see G2, G3s going at it through that first, through Curva Grande, and McLaren managing to stay ahead there. I thought they'd be side by side for a bit longer than that, but choosing to live to fight another day, it seems, as Matt Webb goes purple through Sector 1, 2/10 quicker than the previous best for the GT3 class through there. So really is trying to get the hammer down now. They're in the pit window, seemingly. We see another hypercar as well, waiting to lap these guys.
Yeah, the question for strategy, well, let's talk about Matt Webb. Down 8 positions. They were in pole position for the GT3 class, so they've had some issues I don't think we've seen this race, unfortunately, but it's dropped them down to the mid-pack, and they're trying to recover using the slipstream very effectively through the first sector to get past Watson for P9, and they'll be charging on to catch up to Vespers in BMW up in front of them. But yeah, strategy is sort of the question of, do you go half and half on your fuel? You keep the car a little bit lighter, but you have to spend a lot longer in the pits refilling energy. And when I say a bit longer, I'm talking like 10-15 seconds maybe difference between filling up the final 15 minutes compared to filling up 30 minutes. It is a long time stationary to fill up for virtual energy, and tires, I can't imagine the tire wear is too high here. We've got a lot of straights, and thinking to like Le Mans is notoriously low tire wear in this game, so I can't imagine the drivers are struggling too much with tire wear that it's worth taking an extra either 5 seconds to change 2 tires or 13 seconds to change all 4. Because then you've also got the time to warm the tires up from stone cold, so that adds about an extra 2-3 seconds as you bring them back up to temperature.
Yeah, no, very good point as well. And you know, if you're pitting in that clump of cars, pitting and then ending up back in the cars that you'd have to overtake again, thinking hypercars here, maybe that plays into it. Another aspect, obviously, is if you're pitting when everyone else can be pitting, then that's going to be more cars you're encountering in the pit lane. And with pit lane collisions, maybe drivers is thinking, well, if I pit a not obvious time, maybe I can avoid all that and you know, pit in on the limit without having to worry about another car being there, and avoid collisions altogether.
Yeah, we have a couple of battles. Well, we do have one battle, 3-way battle here forming in the hybrid class. We mentioned Jory having a pretty good race so far in the Alpine, but just starting to drop back a bit, it seems, struggling for pace a bit as Stevie Bean and Charlie Morgan have caught on to the back of them, and Elvin Blomqvist isn't too far in the background. It's wide for the Alpine in front of this train as they're in the slipstream of that has allowed Stevie Bean to get through on the Alpine. Stevie will be looking to push on to try and catch back up to Aiden Harbaz. Ran wide here through Parabolica, might present an opportunity for the Alpine, but as you mentioned, you might be too close, might not get enough slipstream to go for a move. Either way, they're in the slipstream, they pull out now alongside. It'll be the inside for Curva Grande. How far alongside can they pull? They're only about halfway alongside as they get to Curva Grande here, but they pull up, they're getting their nose in, nearly banging wheels through Curva Grande into the second chicane. Now Stevie on the inside, sort of backing up this move, but Alpine's way too deep on the brakes, locked to the rears, and has jumped across the curb, but it's going to fall to the back of the straight as Elvin Blomqvist and Charlie Morgan follow through, taking those positions. Jory dropping down to P10 now.
Dude, that's how quickly it can change. You know, we went to ABS earlier, and I love the fact to say you have that authenticity, you have that option to turn that off. And that, you know, that just creates moments like these where you've got a cloud of smoke and you lock the rears and you spin it around as these 3 hypercars now try and slip past the GT3 there, the McLaren there, going through the Ascari chicane. And obviously that's going to affect Jory's tyre wear as well. That's a crucial thing now. That's going to really affect that. And also his decision making as a flick off the car there through the Ascari chicane. It looks a nice little run, it looks like, on Charlie Morgan there as they head towards Parabolica, both opening up the final corner as close to the left-hand side as you can. Onto the brakes now. Keeping it tight and avoiding that GT3 on the outside. Get the power down as soon as you can without losing the rear and unleash the run as we see a hypercar there into the pits, locking the tyre slightly as Elvin Blomqvist remains on the back of Charlie Morgan. Gap now barely a 10th as they approach what used to be a chicane. Now it's nothing but straight onto the Curva Grande. It slipped to the inside. Does Elvin there?
through Curva Grande, but there's the GT3 McLaren. Compromises the Ferrari a bit and has to back behind the BMW into second chicane. Both the drivers staying are braking fairly well as they head through. Seeing Alpine and Joy Shore rejoining in the background. The slide for push further back. I think that's Max Farrell having a battle with Jacob Hine, but we go on board with Alvin Blomqvist as they try and push using all of the curb on the exit of the second Lesmo, trying to get onto the back, trying to get enough momentum to get alongside the BMW in front. But they're not quite close enough this time round, as we can see a lot of GT3 traffic in front of them.
Indeed, and maybe this is a good time to pit then. If they've got this tremendous amount of traffic, as we can see there, maybe it's time to do a little undercut if you're Alvin here, or if you're still behind them after you get through Parabolica. It's something to think about, but Alvin does have the pace regardless of the traffic, so maybe it's not so much of an issue. As they go through Parabolica another time, still on the back of Charlie Morgan there. This time contending with traffic, GT3 cars, hypercars.
Yeah, both these cars are closing up to Aiden Hard here in the slipstream. The BMW has a really good run here. Charlie Morgan closing up. They're not going to get alongside before Parabolica and actually have to lift out the throttle a little bit. They're coming up on a Porsche that sort of closes down to the inside line. They navigate their way past the Porsche all right. Braking now for the chicane. BMW a little wide of the first apex there, just compromises our line slightly. Gives Aiden Hard a little bit of breathing room as they head towards the first Lesmo. Alvin Blomqvist closing up in the Ferrari behind as they head through here. Another GT3 just in front of them, this time a McLaren, but they should get past easily on the run down to Sky. A little bit wide for Blomqvist there, just picking up a little bit of gravel, and subsequently won't have the momentum down to Sky to challenge, but just both of these cars putting pressure on each other. They'll wiggle for Charlie in the braking zone, just slightly misjudging their turning point for Sky chicane.
Indeed, and we get an idea of the different kind of driving styles, driving management, I suppose, of the drivers. Are looking at this energy usage, by the way. Nick Mander's Ava Woods down to 9%, but then we've got drivers like Bain and Hammer down the order down up in the 60% still. So lots and lots of differences there as they come around Parabolica. Yet again, there's Charlie Morgan and Alvin Blomqvist. This fight will continue on and on, it seems. We've still got, obviously, Aiden Howard just ahead. So watching this unfold in this mirror, hoping these two fight for as long as possible, weaving to break that crucial slipstream, it seems, is Howard. Side by side, they go yet again through Curva Grande. Can he pull it off this time? Sweeping around the outside goes Alvin Blomqvist. This time, no GT3 car ahead of them to hinder them into the chicane now onto the brakes. And Alvin potentially gets it covered off, doesn't go deep, hits the apex nicely, and makes a clean exit.
And as I was having in hard just in front, slightly locking up, cutting the second part of the chicane. That'll be another track limit point, and that has also allowed Alvin Blomqvist to close up a little bit more in the slipstream now. Two Ferraris, so they'll be dead even in terms of their performance as they're closing up on an Aston Martin. Aiden gonna get to the inside, he's gonna get past before the Sky chicane. Alvin Blomqvist is gonna wait behind, tries to go for a late move through the second bar, hasn't timed it very well, jumps over the curb massively, ruining their momentum, and that's gonna allow Charlie Morgan to get back past for P7.
Indeed, and just as quick as they go past each other, they're back past each other again. Yet again, they go through Parabolica. Alvin Blomqvist, the familiar sight of that BMW just ahead of him. Charlie Morgan, I'm sure his heart must be racing in this battle as they go across the start-finish line. 24 minutes to go. They must be thinking about pitting sometime soon, as indeed Dave Wood decides to do exactly that. Similarly, Yuri Shore in the Alpine also pitting now as these two continue their battle, continuing on through Curva Grande. This time, not so good of a run, I think, Alvin there, not going side by side through Curva Grande this time, but keeping in his mind that he does have the pace, and it's just a matter of time, I feel, as they go through the chicane yet again. A big hop there for the Ferrari, actually, in the exit on the entrance there. But similarly, Charlie Morgan, a very poor exit onto the gravel through the first chicane, gives a little look to the Ferrari there, who locks up their rears ever so briefly and kind of neutralises any advantage and disadvantage, I think, through that chicane there as they go through the Lesmos.
The gap is definitely relatively close as well. I think these drivers will be thinking about their pit stops. They've got to be running low on energy. The massive amount of straights we have here is definitely eating that energy away much quicker than would be at a more traditional circuit. So a sort of longer second stint here than what we'll see at most of the other tracks. I imagine we can see who has and hasn't made a pit stop yet. They avoid front runners of those that have. But through parabolic, and now I can see a couple of Aston GT3s in front. That's really compromised Aiden hard. They're going each and every way. The BMW goes to pit lane, is going for the undercut in this battle. But Alvin Blomqvist now behind Aiden hard. In the slipstream has closed up with the help of those Astons, but they're coming up on more GT3 traffic. BMW that they're going to catch just at the entry to Curva Grande. BMW pulls over a little bit early to give the hypercars the outside line, entering good heads-up driving there from the BMW, well managed into second chicane, slightly deep for Aiden hard, slightly wider of the second apex as well, has really given Blomqvist a run, is pulling over to vent, shuts the door on Blomqvist, who was really looking for the inside there. Can Blomqvist get the run out of the second Lesmo? It'd be very risky to go for a move into the second one, but has off-put Aiden hard a little bit wide again there, and gives Blomqvist the run, is looking to the outside, Aiden squeezing them a bit as they head down to the Ascari chicane. Blomqvist not that far alongside, is going to back out of this one, maybe try and get a better exit. A little bit wide again for Aiden hard as Blomqvist over the sausage curbs a little bit, just trying to maximize the run on the exit back into the slipstream. Does have a little bit of a run, but will have to go to the outside as Aiden defends into Parabolic now, who's going to be braver on the brakes. Blomqvist trying to hang it round the outside this time, though can't quite carry the momentum through the middle of the corner, probably because they're going to come into the pits as they hold hard right, but Aiden hard also is coming in front of them. They both get the car slowed down for the pit entry line, making sure to avoid any big lockups.
Indeed, and yeah, what a battle there. Obviously both in the pit lane now. Let's see who can get in and out quickest, I suppose. It's definitely going to be a battle as the top three also pit. Dan Tomlinson leaving the pit now, obviously, as we speak, will come out about fifth, I think. I don't think Ivan is in the pit, so yeah, indeed, fifth as well. Let's have a look. We've also got Fatoy, in the pits, and another GT3 car, so possibly that's I'm looking at the wrong screen entirely, ignore me.
We're still getting used to these new timing screens for the non-ultimate.
Indeed.
So we're watching Dan Tomlinson making their way through the Aston Martin. The GT3 field, unfortunately, has been a little bit more spread out this race. Just looking down the gaps, there is, I was going to say, maybe a bit of a battle forming, but it was a car coming into the pits rather than a battle forming, unfortunately. So yeah, we'll have to check up in maybe 5 minutes more once all the pit stops are done. But Dan Tomlinson catching up to BMW here through the Ascari chicane. Update to wait for the exit to maximise their run. I think that's the mistake Blomqvist made earlier. They went into the Ascari chicane too close to a GT3 car, and that just meant they couldn't carry any momentum through the corner, and that's really what allowed Charlie Morgan to get back past on the exit. Because, you know, when you catch a GT3, you just got back up a bit, leave the space so you can carry apex speed and get it moved up. Maybe in the middle of Ascari, as I mentioned, is possible, is risky though, or just on the exit after the final part.
No, yeah, you're definitely correct. I mean, even just lifting off before you go into that, you know, waiting, so there's a bit of gap between you and that GT3 car as you go into the Ascari complex. It just means you can put the power on sooner, and sure, you know, you're going to be gaining on them massively as you both get to the exit, but you can decide, you can go left, you can go right, you've got that momentum and you're already accelerating, whereas if you wait till you're already past, you know, through the chicane, then put the power down, you know, you're losing so much speed as you go down the straight towards Parabolica. Liam Vespers, by the way, here, our closest battle, I think, in the GT3 class, I thought, I look back at the timing screen, it says 15 seconds. So I'm not sure where that 3/10 gap was. Maybe I've clicked on the wrong car. Perhaps I have. Here's Ollie Knowles, who is 3/10 away from a GT3 car of Ben Brown, who's heading that Aston Martin. Glorious looking machines, by the way, I think these two. And I love the effects in LMU. A bit of dust there kicked up from the gravel at the exit of Les Mode 2. We see the hypercar in the background as well, so maybe Ollie Knowles thinking I can use that maybe as he laps these two in and use that to my advantage and get past the Aston Martin.
Well, certainly try into a Scary. Can the Porsche get a good run, close up a little bit? No, it seems to have dropped back, if anything, through there. I think a little bit of pre-race chatter, the Astons were saying they struggle a little bit for straight line speed, but what they lack in straight line speed, they definitely make up in the corners. They seem, noticing qualifying too, the Astons, they're quite strong in the middle sector, which is the most technical sector of the track, with the sort of first/second chicane, however you want to denote it, as well as the two Lesmos. So yeah, different characteristics here. So the Porsche should maybe close up in the slipstream as they head down to Curva Grande. Still quite a few car lengths between the two of them though, as they head down here. Yeah, so Porsche not gaining enough here for a move as they try and close in for P8.
Indeed, a little note from chat as well, just pointing out maybe during those pit stops, Angel Shawley swap places. So Shawley leads the way in that BMW, that really interesting looking BMW. Watch the Peugeot, another very interesting car, that wingless Peugeot, I should say, there with a little bit of a mohawk, it seems, going through Parabolica now. A slower lap for them, looking at their sector times. 1.6 seconds away from the leader, 13 seconds away from Dave Wood, so they're comfortably in second place at the moment. I guess trying to catch up to the lead and maybe get that back before the end of the race. 16 minutes, 1.5 seconds, Scotty. Do you think it's doable? I think it's doable.
Oh yeah, it absolutely is, and traffic can play a huge effect here. You could easily gain a second from traffic going your way, but of course that can also go the other way. From the start of the race, of course, Shawley started on pole but lost the lead very early on to Angel, who opened up about a 1.6 second gap. It didn't really extend further than that, but maybe saving a bit of energy has managed to sort of reverse the gap in their favour with the pit stop, and now Angel is trying to close down that gap. We can see Angel a little bit more energy for the rest of this race. Shawley maybe short filling a little just to try and get themselves in front, get the track position, and hoping that they'll be able to just save a little bit of energy. Of course, we were talking about lifting in the hypercars when you come up behind a GT3. The other advantage of that is it saves a little bit of energy. So there's sort of two-way advantage for that. We've also got Dave Wood down at 29% as well, so that could be cutting it a little bit close. But if Dave can't make that strategy work, they're up to podiums, the final podium spot, so it might be worth it. We'll have to see how the rest of this race pans out.
No, definitely, indeed. And, you know, you can't turn up your regen for virtual engines. I'm really thinking of something else, so we'll skip over that thought entirely. 1.4 seconds now is the gap between P2 and P1, and we are indeed seeing that traffic, and indeed seeing Shawley up ahead there. So that's obviously another little bonus to Angel. You get that, you know, a little oomph, if you like. You see that the driver ahead, and you see the car getting slowly bigger and bigger. And similarly, I think it all usually works in the opposite effect. Sometimes you see a car in the rear approaching you, and either that can really put you off, or it can really motivate you to get going again. Either way, they are in shot now, those two cars. 40%, 7% difference in batteries there. It's a lot to play with. Obviously, the batteries in LMU, though, it is kind of efficiency based. It isn't more lap time based. You can't use more and get faster, but management of that is important regardless as they go through a Scary chicane there. And seeing some lap traffic, I think this time of the hypercar variety, so potentially having to deal with that, which would be a different challenge altogether compared to the GT3 class, if that was indeed a hypercar I saw.
Yeah, but of course, within the same classes, drivers need to be sort of curious. Was that a car backwards?
I think that was a car. Let me click this button and see if it's going to show me.
Yeah, there is a car backwards. It's an Alpine. Trying to see who that is. They've got themselves off the circuit. It'll be either, it'll be Shore there, Joey Shore, who was running quite well earlier on in the race. See them just running out wide and then losing the rear end on the marbles right in front of a blue Cadillac. So luckily they didn't hit each other too hard, but that's a very awful place to be parked. This car's going both sides of you. It's very difficult to know which way you should turn to try and stay clear of people. You just have to wait for that gap in the traffic, which on a field of 33 cars still remaining in this race could be very difficult to find.
No, definitely indeed. Yeah, we were watching that. We were watching the car of Angel go through Parabolica, and just for a brief second, yeah, just this one frame of another thing in the background. As indeed, Angel here is indeed lapping hypercars. Hopefully, they'll respect that and make way as easy as they can, whilst obviously not ruining their own battles.
Has a really good run here on the BMW and is going to make the move on the inside towards Parabolica. Or they surely tries just cuts in front of Angel. That was very risky, but they just managed to avoid contact, and that was almost close to disaster. Angel, though, in the slipstream will be trying to go for another move here. Slipstream will be quite strong in these hypercars, and they're not too far away from some more GT3 traffic. Angel to the inside just before they get to Parabolica will get in front and has now taken the lead. By doubt that Surely will give it up that easily. There's a couple. We've got BMW that are just coming up now. Angel missing their braking for the chicane and has to let the BMW back through. Surely back to the lead as they head into the Lesmos.
Indeed. Oh, and indeed goes wide as the BMW there of Surely. Lets Angel back through as quick as Angel let Surely back through, and that will give him a nice little gap there. 1 second gap. Just get into your rhythm, get around this GT3 car, and get on your way again. That was crucial.
Yeah, Angel are taking the lead for all the like 500 meters before making a mistake and giving it up. Surely maybe only go about 300 meters before they made a mistake and give the lead right back. This time though, Surely dropping 1.2 seconds back. That, you know, Angel looked like they might have just had a little bit more pace than Surely. You know, again mentioned, Surely much lower on the energy, might have to be saving a little bit to make sure they make it to the end of the race. But again, still traffic can swing the battle any old way.
Definitely, we see the 24% for the BMW, 21% for Dave Wood. It's going to be crucial. He might have to start lifting off a bit more than he'd like to. Dan Thompson comfortably 36%, sitting in fourth. Obviously, they're behind. We'll obviously have to see 10 minutes to go. And yeah, it seems like it's...
There's been a crash between Elton Blomqvist and Zach Silver fighting over P7 at this second chicane. Can see Blomqvist is carried on, but Zach Silver spun in the incident. Hopefully get a replay here. You can see they're coming up to the Curva Grande side by side. Blomqvist on the outside, Zach Silver in the yellow caddy on the inside. Caddy just pulling in front through Curva Grande. Blomqvist looking to the inside but thinking better of it. Then through second chicane, it's big bounce for both of them over the curb. Zach Silver loses the car though. Blomqvist is nowhere to go and helps tips Zach Silver round facing the wrong way.
Indeed, and that's going to be devastating to Zach's race this late in the game.
And we have a couple of battles. Ollie Knowles is still following Ben Brown by half a second for P8 in the GT3 field, but just hasn't been able to get moved done. It's just been sitting there quite constantly. But a little further up, we also have Matt Webb has got up to the back of Simon Harris in the recovery drive. Of course, started on pole for Matt Webb, has since fallen further back and is trying to get back onto the podium now. You can see Ollie Knowles still in the slipstream of the Aston Martin, but just seems to be finding it impossible to get the move done. But I imagine Matt Webb won't find it nearly as difficult to get past Simon Harris. He's all over the radar diffuser. Simon Harris is actually bouncing over the curb at Lesmo too, nearly throwing the car off into the gravel. So hopefully we can switch to that. Is in the slipstream. It might be going for the move into Ascari. You can see down the inside for Matt Webb, but Simon Harris is going to try and hold this round outside. It's going to be bouncing over those curves, so both drivers giving each other good space and good respect. Simon Harris has the momentum though on the exit, and Matt Webb won't complete that move just yet, but feels like it's a matter of when, not if, for this move being completed.
Definitely. Obviously, Simon Harris there. Cautious of Matt Webb in his background, but we can also see a queue of hypercars that have got to get past these two, and that can go either way for these two McLarens as they go through Parabolic. And Matt Webb slightly tight on the line there as they go through it.
He's going for the slipstream from the Porsche, and then it's going back to the Alpine, who's nearly on the grass. Both McLarens swerving to the right to give the Alpine room, then back to the left as the blue Cadillac comes through. But you mentioned, so yeah, 3 more cars to come through. Matt Webb in slipstream pulls to the inside for Curva Grande. Will have the momentum and the shorter distance. Sam Harris can do nothing but slot back into the slipstream as they make their way towards first chicane. And here comes the first of those hypercars, the leading Porsche, and that could actually be quite costly for Angel. Lose them quite a bit of time through that middle chicane. Ben Chorley still a second back, as you can see. The Porsche looking to the inside of Lesmo 1, but had to wait for the move to be done. How does the BMW get through? They get through both cars before Lesmo 2. Ben Chorley definitely gaining there as the leaders passed the 2 McLarens.
Indeed, and it's not over yet. There are eventually going to be more hypercars, but these two still going to get a gap, holding about 4/10 now. Obviously not able to take advantage of the slipstream like before is Simon Harris, so just has to wait cautiously. As goes wide as Matt Webb onto the gravel now, lets Simon Harris go through without too much of an issue. Eventually gets going again, does Simon, but now down 4th into class. I believe that's, yes, no, that's Matt Webb who went off.
Yeah, Matt Webb running wide there, having got the move done into Curva Grande earlier this lap. I've got to say, good respect for Matt Webb. You could see that car was starting to slide back towards the track, and they just dragged it back to the right-hand side, holding it off the track and making sure not to run into Harris. So good clean driving there from Webb. Hopefully something we'll see throughout the remainder of the series. But yeah, 6 more minutes for Matt Webb to try and get back onto the podium from their pole position.
Indeed, indeed. And now 1 second, less than a second, in fact. Less than 9/10 is the gap between Chorley and Angel. It's going to come down to the wire with these two battling non-stop. Also, it's Tyler Hammer, 7/10 off of Jacob Hind in P8. Stevie Bain, who we're watching currently on screen in that beautiful Porsche, not far off the back of Farrell either. So battles galore all the way throughout this race and in the final laps as well. Onto...
People know time is running out in this race, so they want to get their final moves in, try and make up any last positions they can, especially for Stevie B. And he's been sort of up as far as 6th place, 6th place this race, but it's now down in P12. Is going for P11 here, looking to the inside Max Farrell. Things better, but Max Farrell has locked the brakes into the Scary chicane and is off into the gravel. Make sure to try and rejoin safely Farrell, as there was a GT3 right behind him, but they have avoided contact as we cut to Tyler Hammer now in the slipstream of Jacob Hind. The blue Cadillac trying to pass the blue Alpine in front, coming towards Curva Grande. Caddy's going to go to the inside of Parabolica. Will they get the move done? Yeah, Jacob Hind is going to have to slot back into the slipstream, but if they can get enough slipstream here, might be able to go for a counter-attack into the chicane. Is going to go for the move as they brake slightly later. A little bit of a slide on the rear end for the caddy, but they've got the move done. Jacob Hind unable to respond.
Indeed, that seems like 2 out of 3 battles resolved. They just leaves Ben Chorley and Son Angel to go as these 2 cars getting past that Mustang there, going through the second Lesmo. Jacob Hind, I'm sure there will be a counter-attack of sorts. 4 minutes to go, plenty of time. Sticking with Tyler Hammer for now, at least, remaining within a second, but remaining within half a second is Ben Chorley here, going down towards the Scary. Look at that traffic. Look at all these obstacles and things to go wrong as they go through a Scary here. Chorley just off the back there of another Porsche who's trying to slip by. Angel is trying to make his way up the road as quick as he can while Chorley's trying to deal with this traffic.
Yeah, Chorley actually got to the back of the red and white Porsche there. You could hear the contact as there's a Porsche GT3 off trying to get out of the way of this battle as sorry, 2 hypercar battles were coming past them at the same time. Just 3 minutes 20 seconds to go. That should be 2 laps remaining. Time is running out for Charlie here.
Indeed, let's go on board for a lap as well, which we haven't quite done yet, as we obviously ignore the first chicane. We could just see, I think, Angel in the distance there as they go through Curva Grande, keep it pinned, obviously avoid the GT3 traffic, which seems to always be there, and get across to the right-hand side for the chicane. Onto the brakes. Don't lock the rears. Avoid the curb there and go towards the first Lesmo. We can see as well, Angel there, just under a second, so tantalizing. Keep the speed up as you go through the first Lesmo. Use all the exit there. And again, carry the momentum through the second part. Crucial here to get a good exit as you get a nice long run down towards this guy. We can see the blue box flashing as well to let the traffic know he needs to eventually let Charlie here through.
You can see the Alpine just in front. That's Jacob Hine, who could have a real important effect on this lead battle. Is currently giving Angel a slipstream, which could be helping as long as Jacob Hine can run quick enough and not back Angel up into Ben. They're coming around the Curva Grande. It will actually be 2 laps around this time. I miscounted time, apologies. So 2 more laps for Ben Charlie. The question is, how will Angel deal with Jacob Hine just in front of them?
Indeed, it is a crucial question. Staying ahead at the moment is Hine. Obviously, as they head towards Curva Grande, that blue box still flashing. Eventually, Son, I think, gets past and disappears around the corner. Also, we can see the red bars on the side there of the energy just being low. We can see how much he's lifting off there of the throttle to conserve that, as maybe there was an extra lap that they hadn't accounted for, perhaps, having to be really cautious. Maybe even totally diffusing the battle now is that energy bar.
I would say so. I think this is Ben Charlie going for a shorter pit stop to try and get track position, and is now having to sort of pay the time back with the lift and coasting to save the energy. That gap up to 3.3 seconds. I think that is battle for the lead over, unfortunately, for Ben. It was a fair try, fair attempt. I respect the strategic attempt, but you can see there 4% for them. Dave Wood down to 3%. I can't imagine how much he's having to lift and coast. As you can see him going through the Lesmos in a bit of GT3 traffic. Dan Tomlinson is only 4 seconds back from Dave Wood on 14%. Dan isn't going to be saving any energy at all. It's going to be flat out trying to take the final podium position. If you don't know, when you run out of energy, you get a stop-go penalty of 100 seconds. So practically you will be the last car to finish on that lap that you complete. So in this case for Dave Wood, it would be the lead lap. So out of the Parabolica now, the gap 3.8 between these two. But Dan just getting caught up in some GT3 traffic through the Parabolica as they come round onto the final lap. But just 1% for Dave Wood. There's going to be a lot of lift and coast here.
Indeed, definitely. I mean, you'd think maybe Dave Wood, I think maybe he didn't know if it was over or not, would have got into the pit surely. But he knows how much energy he's going to use more, so I think he'd probably let go of a couple places and pit and top up that energy. But you're right, it is such a penalty if that runs out, and it has run out. Oh no, it's just gone to red, and I panicked for a second. 0.8%.
Into the final percent. Charlie is also into the final percent as well. Into the gravel. That's certainly not going to help you, Dave Wood. Dan Tomlinson already through, was the second of the 2 yellow caddies there. Next car comes through is Charlie Morgan, who has just passed Nick Manders for P5, in fact. I just seen that change on the timing screen. They are 30 seconds back as they cross the start-finish line. It's gonna be real tight here. Angel has actually come across the line to finish the race and to take the win here, and Dave Wood is just trying to crawl to the finish. Ben Charlie has got to the finish with 0.4% of energy left and will take P2. Dan Tomlinson is heading into the Parabolica to take the final podium position here. You can see getting past a couple of the GT3s, of which the GT3 leader, James Kiley, is also coming into the final corner in the yellow Ford Mustang. Weaving across the line for Dan Tomlinson, very happy with that P3 flashing the headlights. We can see the Alpine, I believe that is Jory. Yeah, it is indeed helping Dave Wood get to the finish. Dave Wood has hit 0% on our board. We can't see if a penalty has come up. Charlie Morgan, their guards are coming up, but Dave Wood will cross the line now to take P4. Charlie Morgan now across the line as well for P5, just in front of Nick Manders, taking that final top 5 position on the final lap. Elvin Blomqvist will take P7 ahead of Tyler Hammer in P8, who is coming up to Parabolica.
Indeed. What a race as we indeed wait for Tyler Hammer to get across that. Oh, sliding through Parabolica onto the gravel and eventually the wall. And there goes a tyre. I don't think he's quite finished the race yet, though.
No, and that is a rear tyre. I'm not sure. I think in real life, you need to cross the line at the end of the race to be considered finished.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the case in the Mon Ultimate, if whether, right, you did more laps than everyone else behind you, so yeah, you hold on to that position. The timing screen does say DNF, but it does still say P8 on my end, so I think that does count as a P8 finish for Hammer.
Well, potentially. We do have a magical button here. Let me do it and see what happens. There we go. So we actually have the order. So Tyler Hammer showing as P8 indeed. Sun Angel obviously leading the way, coming across the line in first, 41 laps, 7 seconds behind. Ben Shirley, they're obviously having to lift majorly in that final lap due to a difference in strategy. Dan Tomlinson, Dave Wood, third and fourth. Cadillac and Ferrari on that row. Charlie Morgan, Nick Manders, fifth and sixth. And Elvin, Tyler, Jacob, and Zach rounding out your top 10. I think I can do these manually. Yes, amazing. Stevie Bain, Max Farrell, Aidan Batond, Yuri Shara, Lassie Vino, Daniel James, Alistair, and Matt there rounding out the top 20. Putting a great show all round. Obviously, that leads us into the GT3 category as well. Harris, Ashley, Davies, Brown, Knowles, 21 through to 25th. And look at the diversity, by the way, of the manufacturers. Great stuff with the balance and the performance here. And Watson Smith, Holman, O'Grady, Frank Vevic, up to there, and Page, Brace and Freshbus, and obviously Trinket Tass up to P34 there.
Yeah, and a couple of drivers, unfortunately, that I mentioned, having issues before the race started and not making the start. Hopefully we'll not see any issues of such at the end. Aidan just mentioning in chat, we missed through all the excitement of that race, getting a drive through, and yeah, that dropped them down to 13th. But yeah, we had 4 different manufacturers in the top 4 of the hypercar class, which is amazing to see. Wow, if that race was that exciting, I can't wait to see what the rest of the season is going to be like.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very much looking forward to it. I hope everyone enjoyed it tonight. I mean, I certainly did. Great. Just so interesting, so different, so exciting. Next week, we're at Bahrain at the default kind of layout there, so nothing too wild, but very interesting. Some very technical corners there. I'm thinking of turn 10, incredibly difficult downhill hairpin. Great. Circuit, and some other ones throughout the series. Well, I won't list them all, but definitely tune in for those. It's going to be very exciting, I think.
It will be very exciting indeed. I cannot wait. LMU, I've loved racing on it the last couple of months. I'm gonna love watching the races, the 7 races we have to go in this series.
Indeed. And I think at some point we might have a sprinkle of rain as well, which makes it even more interesting, I think, especially with the different weather system than maybe some of the drivers are used to. No kind of up in the airness, so to speak, of will it rain, will it not? If you know what I mean in terms of the model. You do have variability, but you have like actual variability and not ACC variability.
Well, you can set a percentage chance that it might be like 20%, it might be 100%. If it's 20%, yeah, very unlikely that rain does come. but there is that small chance that it does, and it ruins someone's day. I should also say the spray on this game is really intense and very, very difficult to see through. I believe we're expecting some rain at Portimao later this season. Turn 1, quite a tight apex. If it is wet for that start, I could see quite a bit of carnage. But I must say, in fairness, I was expecting a lot of carnage here today, and there, it was very relatively clean, much cleaner than I thought it was going to be, in all fairness.
Yeah, definitely. And I think obviously that's down to driving standards and things like that. But I think what really helps with LMU is that kind of crash physics where there's that bit of absorption where cars naturally have a bit of crumple zonage, and whereas ATC there's that classic ping physics, especially relating to like the rear of the car. But it just seems to work so well at LMU, especially obviously at the race starts, as you were saying. It's go through Curva Grande. You're right. I was totally expecting many cars off into the gravel, but luckily it all went pretty well.
We had a couple of cars off on the grass before Curva Grande, but it seems like from what we've seen, at least, there might have been a little bit more carnage in GT3s that we didn't see. It was mostly clean, but that's great. The one thing with LMU, though, if you do get damage, it takes a lot longer to repair and pit. Not like ACC where it might be 5-10 seconds. Usually you're looking at 20 odd seconds at least. So if you do get that damage, highly likely you'll be carrying it to the end and just hoping that you're not losing too much from it.
It definitely means something, and so does the gravel, and so does the walls. So it's it is going to be changing the way drivers think about approaching other cars and lines and things. So it's going to be good. I'm very excited. We've said that a million times. I'm going to say it a million more, I'm sure.
We are just genuinely excited.
Indeed, yeah.
I also want to say a little shout out during the stream. Apex Fest, thank you very much for the subscription and your support to the channel, and to those also that were following throughout the stream. We're glad quite a few of the drivers were saying it was and it was great to watch. So glad everyone seems to be enjoying it too.
Indeed. I think we'll sign off. So unless you have anything else, Scotty, thank you everyone for joining us. Do join us next week. And throughout this week, we have a whole new swath of events as we enter our new season here at oNiD. But other than that, I think I'm going to wish everyone a good night, Scotty.
Yeah, same here. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. And we will hopefully see you, if not later this week for some of our other races, next week for some more Le Mans Ultimate action.